Hello and welcome to Jobber's Court. We're here for another exciting episode. Now that we've gotten WrestleMania reviews out of the way, WrestleMania previews out of the way, we can get back to other things we love to do, and that's just talk about other wrestling subjects. Once again, I am joined by my normal two assistants here, Cedric, the wise old owl of wrestling, or WOW, and as well as the man of 1,004 nicknames, Hulkamania, Hulkster, Mr. Hulk Standing. I could continue to go on and on forever, but welcome back to the show, guys.
Thank you very much, and for tonight, I am Hercules!
Hercules. Nice. Do you gonna have the big chain thing around your neck like big old Herc used to?
Now I'm gonna go with the Rock's rendition and have a big lion over my head.
Oh, well,
but when I say Hercules, it almost sounds like Hercules with a lisp. They punch in the mouth. Oh, ow, you're Hercules.
That's pretty good. All right. Well, since we missed him last week and we could have used his optimism, we've invited Optimistic Will back onto the show. So great to have you here again, Will. Just wanted the listeners to know when we're recording this, it is not quite 5 a.m. where he's at, so that's a dedicated individual right there. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
All right. And definitely last but not least, we also have a special guest today. Cedric was able to get us. So you want to tell us about who we have on the show today?
Sure. We have one part of the hosting team of the L2R show coming soon. So we'll be pushing for a few tweets, giving a little bit of advertisement once we have a date. But we have Ryan with us today as our special guest.
Hey guys, yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Well, absolutely. Based on your accent, we got to ask, where are you from?
I'm from Philly.
Oh, all right, cool. Awesome. So,
The wrestling capital.
What's that?
The official wrestling capital of the world.
It is.
It's where it all started.
Well, you know, it's a great town, but they've had a few bad shows in Philly.
Yeah,
good ones too.
I mean, you could blame the whole Roman Reigns thing on us, but but yeah, it's a rough crowd. They always tend to put on a good show, even though we give them no reason to. They still they treat us well.
That's good. I know I haven't got to go to too many shows in different towns, but I know it's definitely a different feel on the ones that I have been to, so I couldn't imagine going out to a show there on the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of when I've traveled for other pay-per-views, I mean, Philly's the only one I've really been to for Raw, with the exception of Raw's After Mania. So, but from what I see on TV, Philly stands out from everyone else. So I'm proud to be from here.
That and Pittsburgh. But
I've never been up to Pittsburgh. A little too far for me.
All right. Well, Cedric, since he is our guest, we should probably indoctrinate him formally into the court. What do you think?
I think you are correct, King Thrashwash. Let me turn on the candles. A little bit of essence. Kill the virgin.
Oh. There it is.
Alrighty.
He's been formally
formally done. Okay, as all our guests in the past podcasts past episodes that we've had, we asked them one simple question, and it's the one that all listeners want to know. When was the moment that you realized I have become a wrestling fan? It could be because of a specific wrestler, a specific event, something that you remember that was so powerful that you were like, you know what? I'm going to become a wrestling fan from this point on.
All right. This is a hard one because there's a couple of different things. I'll go with the coolest part of it. I don't know if you guys remember, but let's say 10 to 12 years ago, they came out with that 3 DVD pack, Bret Hitman Hart, The Best There Is, Was, and Ever Will Be.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorites.
Are you familiar with that?
I watch it at least once a year.
Okay, yeah, I still have mine. But anyway, when that was being released, they were promoting it really heavy in the Philadelphia area, and Bret Hart was actually doing a signing at the local Best Buy right around the corner from my house. So my grandmom took me up, and I think that's kind of where it all started. I mean, like at the time, I was like casually watching it. My parents wouldn't let me watch the Monday Night Raw because that was the more edgy stuff, and I was young. But I was always watching Thursday Night SmackDown. So I was a casual viewer as a kid. Once I met Bret Hart, I went full-fledged wrestling fan. I haven't stopped since.
That's great. He's my favorite wrestler, so of course, that's awesome. He's yours too.
Hey, one of mine. I wouldn't say he is my favorite, but he's definitely a big inspiration as to why I got into it.
Don't ruin it now. We were on the same page.
So, well, at least you didn't say Goldberg, right?
Yeah.
Oh God.
I hate Goldberg. Damn it.
He would have said Goldberg. I think all of us would have looked at our phones like, call disconnected. We're like,
yeah,
what?
I was gonna say, but it just heard like if they still had it, the deadline. Put the end of all the phones is all you would have heard. How dare
Ryan,
he retire Bret Hart? Like, continue.
So Ryan, what's motivated you to not just to reach out to us, but to want to get into the podcast business, if you want to call it that? I know a few months ago you tweeted on our Twitter page or sent us a message. What things could we advise you as to start it? So what's gotten you interested in starting the whole podcast with your other co-host?
Well, it was both kind of something we agreed on. He's as big as a wrestling fan as I am. Actually, I shouldn't even say that. He's more of a fan than I am. He doesn't miss any indie show in the area. He's at every Monday Night Raw, every SmackDown. He travels to Atlantic City, which is about 60 miles away, just to see the house shows. But my lifelong dream was always to do some type of broadcasting. I wanted to do sports radio. And I figured since I'm so passionate about wrestling, this would be the perfect opportunity. Even though I'm not being paid for it, kind of already set in my ways as far as career, so I could always do this for fun on the side.
Dig it.
Yeah, I'm saying for the listeners that don't know, like, that's why this show started. It was just a bunch of us that got together and just wanted to talk wrestling, and we said, maybe we should just record it, put it out there, and then I pretty much got a degree in IT in about 3 weeks. Had to figure out the process of getting everything set up, which was probably the hardest part for me, because I'll talk all day, but trying to get it broadcast and how that works and everything was a difficult thing.
Yeah, I mean that's what's holding us back. We like, as you know, our plan was to go live the right after Thursday Night SmackDown went off the air. There's two reasons we canceled that. I didn't realize Stone Cold was doing a podcast live, so any viewer we would have probably been watching that, listening to that, however they would choose to do so. And we just had a few issues with the setup. I think we're trying to rush into things a little too much. We have a tentative plan to start next week.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, if you guys are going live, bless you, because that's something we haven't even tried to look into too much yet, just because of the logistics of everything. So.
Yeah, I mean, we found a cool little app. It's called Mixler. They let you broadcast for free. The only problem is once it's out there, it's out there. It's like everything else. Absolutely. There's never sending it. So that's it. That mouth of mine I was telling you about, I'm going to have to really learn how to hold that back.
Yeah, as long as your listeners know ahead of time, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they'll get the little E for explicit next to it.
That's right.
Oh, look, it says E for everyone.
Yeah. All right, well, besides just having a special guest on, I just want to kind of warm everything up here and let everyone know what we're going to talk about today. Got a few good subjects, so one thing we're going to talk about is Monday Night Raw, how we feel the first two episodes after Mania, kind of what our expectations are moving forward from here. We're going to talk NXT. Is it just a development league, or is it legitimately its own brand, and what effect does it have on the different wrestling products? And then last but not least, we're going to do something a little different. We've all sat down and watched a special match, which we'll break down for you later in the broadcast. So we've got your wrestling moment. We have to talk a little bit about your show, but before we get started, do you have a way to reach you so people can ask questions in the meantime about your show? Get it out there so we just get potential listeners of ours listening to you.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there's a couple ways you guys can reach us. Of course, we're on Twitter. We're at the L2R Show. I'm sure you guys, if they're really looking for us, I'm on your page. I know that. I've tweeted you guys plenty of times. My personal Twitter, it's actually not in the bio right now. It is, one second, it is Ryan from Mayfair. Simple as that. Look it up. And then my co-host is at LuckyRock009. If you need to get in touch with us. And the email is larry2ryanshow@gmail.com. Any questions, anyone want to come on the show, feel free to contact us.
That's awesome. Can you tell us maybe what your show's going to be about, kind of what's the premise of it?
Okay, so our shows, I know you guys do a whole lot of things. I love the fantasy booking thing. If you guys didn't have that tied up, I probably would take it from you, but I could not do that. So we're going to take our approach to it's going to be a lot more comedic. Me and my buddy, we have a good chemistry in that sense. You'll hear a lot of verbal barbs back and forth between us. It's going to be a lot like you can think of it a post-game show. For our goal is to do it every Thursday after SmackDown goes off air, so we can cover everything that went down on Monday Night Raw, everything that went down on NXT, and everything that went down on SmackDown. And if there's a pay-per-view that week, we'll have a second show that week following the pay-per-view.
Cool. So you're going to primarily just cover WWE then?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do occasional ROH maybe, but like a lot of these big name talents are getting sucked into NXT and WWE, so that it's not going to be as interesting to cover anymore. Sure. On top of it, and there's a promotion that runs along the East Coast, and they're actually here tomorrow. They're doing a big wrestle. Let's say think of it as a car show, but wrestling.
Okay.
A convention. It's House of Hardcore. It's ran by Tommy Dreamer. We'll cover them whenever they're here also.
Wow, that's
cool. Awesome.
Yeah, so I've heard of House of Hardcore.
Tomorrow's lineup, I'm very upset that I'll be missing it. They got Sami Callihan, Bull James, who was Bull Dempsey in NXT. Yep. They have Billy Gunn, Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, just to name some.
Yeah, that would be a heck of a card. Some of those guys, you only get a chance now to see them maybe once or twice a year. So.
Right.
All right. Well, I guess without further ado, as our guest, we'll let you start out with your thoughts and opinions. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw here the last 2 weeks, these first 2 weeks after Mania. What has been your opinion of these shows, and kind of what's your expectation moving forward?
I mean, all right, so 2 weeks ago we had the Raw after Mania. I was there. It was an incredible experience. It was my first time being at a Raw after Mania. Started off real hot. There was a lull in the middle, and then once after the Dudley Boys Usos match, Enzo, I actually have a list composed of highs and lows for the past 2 weeks, and at the top of my list, the high point is the debut of Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy. That was a mark-out moment for me, and I found it to be they played it perfectly the way they verbally berated the Dudley Boys. So that gives me a lot of hope. Cesaro's return was a big thing. You gotta love the Raw after Mania crowd. I'm sure you guys watched, and you could just about anything you could hear. I mean, I'm pretty sure the biggest chant of the night was, no matter what match was going on, was better than Roman. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to see what they do with the Bullet Club as far as next week's the coming Monday Night's Raw. I have a tendency not to like the shows that are pre-taped coming from overseas, because it seems like they have a tendency to not make as big of moves as they would as a live show, because they know it's going to be spoiled ahead of time. So that there's always a kind of a lull whenever they're overseas doing a European show.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing that happens with SmackDown, I suppose.
Yeah, if they get the SmackDown treatment, but you get it twice in 1 week instead of just once.
Okay, so couple highs there. What are a couple maybe things that could have been better the last couple weeks?
All right, yeah. I mean, I don't like the way they just took that title off Zack Ryder. It's not right. I mean, I think everyone could. I get why they're doing it. They're trying to push the fact that Maurice is back for Total Divas, and it's a shame that they have to use one of their most prestigious titles to push a fake reality show. And I hate to say this, because I'll come out and say it now. I'm in love with anything New Japan. I'm in love with anything Bullet Club.
Amen.
I'm obsessed with the Bullet Club. And I hate the way they debuted them, unless they follow through with what I'm thinking, which is the thought is they're going after the Usos, who are Roman Reigns' cousin, which would could make sense. They're trying to take out Roman. Maybe they'll eventually work their way up to Roman Reigns. I've kind of booked this one in my head, how I want it to play out, what I want to happen in the next couple weeks leading up to Payback. Obviously, keep going after the Usos, and maybe from Monday Night Raw next week, they go after Dean Ambrose to add a fourth man into this feud, and then eventually they'll go after Roman also. And I'm hoping that leads to a Finn Balor call-up, and we get maybe at, I believe Extreme Rules is to follow up to Payback. We could get some type of 8-man match where it would be Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose, and the Usos versus AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Anderson, and Gallows. But as of right now, I kind of think that's just wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get this really high expectation. So, I mean, I think that's what everybody's expectations are. So it may be disappointing if that's what ends up not happening. But I think the only kind of issue you might have with it was that would require AJ Styles kind of working a heel turn. And right now they just got the numbers back from his merchandise. They just got the numbers, and he's doing really, really well. So I have a feeling that the guys who are selling merchandise, they're generally not going to turn them. So I don't know how that's going to work.
I think at this point, I don't know what you guys think, but I think Roman Reigns a lost cause as a face for the time being. Will there be a point where they could get him over as a face? Absolutely. But I think now they just got to accept that he's a heel. Maybe I've read a few things online. I just don't see how it would play out about a possible Shield reunion when the Shield being the heel and Bullet Club being the face stable. So, I mean, it's interesting how it could play out. I just found like I said, that unless that's the storyline they're going with, I don't see why have them go after the Usos unless they're going to start taking out every tag team and just prove dominance.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool too if they just came out and they were just destroying tag teams as they went along, just disrupting the tournament over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there will be no clear winner, and then they'll end up getting the title shot at Payback. Who knows?
I guess we'll move on over to Will, and then after that we'll come back for any other takeaways. Will, how about you? Your thoughts of the last 2 weeks of Raw, and what you thought?
I do agree with the Zack Ryder thing. I didn't like to see him lose the title so quickly, and then kind of just get pushed right back to the bottom, like on SmackDown a couple days later, or was that this last week's? Either way, he's already out of the Intercontinental Championship picture. He's done. So the one thing I found interesting was that they gave Shane McMahon the Raw job anyway after the whole removing him as his out of the will, whatever, that storyline again, and disowning his son like the second or third time.
Sure.
This time it was a lot quicker when he brought him right back into the fold, and they gave him Raw again the next week. So I don't know why they set that up the way they did going into WrestleMania, as if he was going to be out of the picture once it was over. I think he was more popular than they thought he would be as a GM, because people like seeing him. He's fun to have around, but I think the reaction for him was just more than they expected. They brought him back.
I think the whole dynamic of the show changes with him coming out there in the beginning than it did with the Authority, obviously. Because it's like a face presence to start the show instead of this just drudging heel presence over and over and over again at the beginning to start the show. So I think that has part to do with it. I
just don't know why the WrestleMania stipulation, though. That kind of confuses me.
And it does me, too. And then especially with Undertaker having left his gloves in the ring after Mania. I guess, Ryan, you were there. What was the thoughts or how that went down as far as Undertaker with his gloves in the ring?
To be 100% honest with you guys, we didn't notice it. We were, me and my buddy that were there, who actually was my co-host brother. He'll be on the show occasionally. He'll be one of our features. And we didn't notice it. We were kind of in shock from the leap from the top of the cell still, as was the whole stadium. That moment, it was one of those moments when time stood still. Like, there was actually a moment where I can recall just staring down and remember his body midair it looked like it was sitting still. That's how surreal it was.
Yeah. Well, I know when you get goosebumps watching it live on TV, I could only imagine, actually being at the show. So
it was electric. Like I think that was the first time wrestling in person had given me goosebumps, sent that chill down my spine.
Yeah. Well, rumor has it, Will, that the Undertaker may possibly be done after this. So I'm a little bit baffled as to if Undertaker's thinking about retiring, or if that was his last match. I'm confused as to why they just didn't go ahead and let Shane win the match then, if this is how they were going to go on in the future. So I'm with you. I'm confused. What other thoughts did you have for the show?
You mean just the Raw?
Yeah, for the Raws.
I also like the what's it, Cassidy and Enzo's. Cass and Enzo. I like their entrance too. They're a pretty entertaining group. At first, I hated them because they reminded me they're like Jersey Shore characters, but after a little while, I kind of warmed up to them.
I just think Enzo's he's so loud and so in your face. You either like it or hate it, but eventually, yeah, like you said, I think it grows on.
He's pretty funny. And the way the crowd reacted to the women's championship, I don't know why they would chant Bayley so strong after with every other woman in the ring. Just, we want the one that's not here again. Like, the crowd is never going to be happy. I think that was an example of that again. Like, there was nothing they could do to get them to stop chanting Bayley. Like, and Charlotte couldn't handle it either. She just kind of lost it. She just stumbled through the whole promo.
Well, in a little bit of a way, they hijacked the show a little bit, and we've talked about fans previously on the show, and this is one of those instances where I kind of felt bad for Charlotte, and that's hard to do, but I did feel bad for her because of kind of how that happened. And people want what they want, but at the same time, like at the Hall of Fame when John Cena got booed out the building, they were booing Charlotte the whole time at the Hall of Fame. There's kind of a time and a place to me, but that's getting off topic a little. But yeah, I'm with you. That was kind of weird the way it ended. Although she did a good job kind of going from just trying to be sincere and serious to when the crowd turned on her, she said, "Fine, I'm just going to talk about myself." And then, all the ladies leave and Natalya challenges her.
Yep.
So as far as how everything's been going with AJ Styles this last couple of weeks, Will, how do you feel about how he's being pushed?
I mean, I've been an AJ Styles fan because I've been a TNA fan for a few years now, so I was kind of sad to see him leave there, and I've been following him on the indie circuit, so I've always been an AJ Styles fan.
One of 17.
So I like seeing him get the push he's getting here. I'm a little surprised it's so quickly. And you guys talked about in your last show, it was kind of weird to see him lose at WrestleMania and then get such a push right away.
Yeah.
I'm still curious what they're going to do. I don't see it just being him and Roman Reigns for the title for some reason, because they keep having Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens getting in there. So I could see it being sort of a multi-person match at Payback. But
okay, well,
if it is just those two, I'd like to see it. I think he can pull a good match out of anybody, so it would definitely be entertaining.
Well, what would
just
you
him and Roman Reigns.
What would you like to see going forward then from here with the storylines?
I think it would be interesting if they brought all of Bullet Club into WWE. That would be very WWE of them to do that, to bring a whole stable in from another company or from the indie circuit.
Yeah.
Considering they hardly bring any talent in from the indies.
Well, I don't think they'll get them. I don't think they'll get them all because Young Bucks are under contract at ROH, and
I couldn't imagine Triple H hiring the Young Bucks either. They're a ripoff of Shawn Michaels and DX and NWO. Why would they want them around? Anyway, but just bringing the name Bullet Club, I couldn't even imagine them doing that, but it's possible. Okay. And they talked about it with on that Edge and Christian show. They mentioned Bullet Club, so they've talked about the Bullet Club a little bit, so there's a chance.
Yeah, and you never know. I think it was funny they would talk about the Bullet Club, but they wouldn't talk about TNA on that show. Anyway,
I thought it was funny they talked about TNA as much as they did, because wrestling fans knew who they were talking about. I'm surprised they went that far with it.
Yeah. Okay, so besides the Bullet Club, what else would you like to see? What do you see happening with Miz?
I mean, I didn't really think about it too much. I'm sure he'll have the title for a little while, and after they push Maurice back and him long enough, I don't know who they'll give it to next.
You didn't think much about what's going on as far as the Intercontinental title storyline. Where do you think they're going with Baron Corbin and some of these other new NXT guys that are coming in? Or where would you like to see them go, I suppose?
I don't watch NXT, so I didn't really even know who Baron Corbin was too well. Well, I mean, I watch enough wrestling, I guess, I feel. Yes, but
yeah, but it's one of those shows where, like, internet wrestling fans would be like, you watch all this other stuff, but you don't watch NXT. But anyway, continue.
I know, right? So, I watched the NXT TakeOver, the one before WrestleMania, so I think Baron Corbin wrestled that night.
It was a great show.
I've seen a little bit of stuff. Yeah, it was really good. The NXT wrestling is good.
Yeah. I think, for me, I don't watch it as much as I'd like to either. I usually have to binge watch 4 or 5 episodes at a time because I'll miss it for a period of time.
I do that with ROH too, so I get it.
All right. I guess, Cedric, what are your thoughts on the last 2 weeks of Raw?
Well, I had a offline conversation with Hawkins a few days back on this, and that's what led to the topic. I like what I'm seeing. I can't say I'm not, because there is a different feel to it. Just like my wife said, just like you mentioned, and even when I was talking with Hawk Standing, it's kind of nice not starting off with either Triple H or Stephanie or Vince, Mr. McMahon, belittling somebody or everybody and reminding us of their position, which may or may not been, acquired. One thing is what Mr. McMahon did when he took over. Another thing is when you're born into the business or you marry into the business, but that's a whole different subject. So I kind of like seeing someone come out and tell us, hey, this is what we're going to do today. And not hear all the nonsense that took 15, 20 minutes at a time from hour 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. I like talking with Mr. Hawk Standing, something that he brought to my attention, and I had to take a step back and think about it and say, you know what, he's correct. One of the things is that he brought up is the meanings of the matches, and that is one thing that rewatching the Raws, it is true. You don't just have guys fighting for the heck of it, or ladies. There's a meaning behind that match. There's a reason why they're fighting. The prize, the goal behind winning that match is big enough where it makes sense for you to perform at the level to say, hey, I deserve to win. So that I did also appreciate. I've been a little bit skeptical because this is not the first time we've gone down this road where we start seeing Raw picking up, and then all of a sudden the authorities brought back very quick. It reminds me once when John Cena supposedly beat them and took them out, and not even a few weeks later they were brought back under some dumb stipulation. So I'm a little skeptical to jump up and down and celebrate. I want to see what else they're going to come up with in the next few weeks. But it's good. It's a good product. It's very upsetting to see the so-called internet fans bashing this product until there's nothing else to say, and yet they'll find something worse to say, not even giving it a chance. I don't. It's one thing to be a fan and be a little bit critical about the product. We've done it on this podcast, but it's a whole different thing when nothing that they do, you like everything you hate. And you keep comparing it to back in the day. Back in the day, look, back in the day was a different crowd, a different group. This is a whole different crowd they're gunning for. So let's just take it for what it is and try to enjoy it for what it is as well. And based on some of the matches, if I'm going to get specific, things that I like seeing the AJ Styles Sami Zayn match. I think I might be confusing SmackDown and Raw, but I think that was in Raw. Yeah, definitely proves that the Jericho AJ Styles were not that good of matches as some folks thought. That Sami Zayn AJ Styles was amazing. It proves that they both belong where they're at. It shows that opponents and styles make fights, and when you put the right 2 folks in, or if it's a tag team, the right 4 or 6, whatever it is, when you put the right folks that have good chemistry, you're gonna have a good match. And they definitely proved, that those 2 can work together and that they belong where they're at. The Enzo and Cass, I'm sorry guys, I'm not a big fan of them. Wrestling wise, I'm not a big fan. I think I like other NXT tag teams better. The Revival comes up to my mind, and even the American Alpha as well. But I did not like too much the belittling of the Dudley Boys. I remember when Ascension was belittling so-called legend tag teams and whatnot. People weren't too happy, but then these guys, they celebrated the crap out of them. I understand why. I understand Enzo Amore being that catchy guy and whatnot, but I'm not a big fan, but it is what it is. The NXT, the girls, Charlotte, I like what Will said. I'm okay with the fans being fans, but, I love the way you put it on Rasquash. There's a time and a place. And I think that's why I am, as well as Ryan, a big NJPW fan, because you can tell the difference between the Japanese crowd and a crowd that wants to take over the show, or as you said, take it hostage. I'm not a big fan of that. But for the most part, if they continue down this road, making matches mean something, putting good stipulations, Cesaro coming back amazing. I really was happy to see that. He's missed. I've been following him since the indie days, and I definitely like Cesaro, and I hope at some point he too can be championship material for the WWE. Not that he's not, but hopefully be booked as such. Zack Ryder, I like the guy. Wasn't too happy for him losing the championship, but we all could see that coming even on Sunday when he won it. Some good decisions, some bad decisions, but it's understandable. The stipulation with Undertaker, I agree with you guys, doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But it does kind of play out. Mr. McMahon saying, I can see my son was willing to go this far, so why not give him a chance and see him bury himself? Yeah, it kind of played. Well played, Mr. McMahon, but at the same time, didn't make too much sense. So if I have to summarize it, I like where they're going. I hope they don't disappoint us. I know they cannot please everybody, but I hope we see many more good products on Monday night and Thursday and pay-per-views. But specifically talking about Monday Night Raw, hopefully this will last for quite a while, and we'll see a good show, a good product from them.
Yeah, awesome. I think of a lot of the things you're talking about are on all of our minds. But Hercules, how about you? What did you think of the last 2 weeks?
Well, the first thing I've learned is I need to keep my mouth shut and not talk to Cedric, because he basically said everything I was going to say. Thanks a lot, old wise owl.
Sorry about that.
No, but yeah, the big things everybody's already said here. WrestleMania stipulation aside, at least just this last Monday night, I guess is the real first Raw, because the Raw after WrestleMania is always a wild show regardless. But for this past Raw, I've definitely noticed a format change. Shane McMahon coming out, no 20, 30-minute promo, just a quick 5-10 minutes. Hey, welcome to Monday Night Raw. These are the matches that we're going to have. And then, boom, go forward. Cedric already said it earlier as well, but it seems like almost every match, there was a reason to have that match rather than just, okay, these two guys are going to fight, and then nothing happens. Like 50-50 booking. And now, whether or not they still go with 50-50 booking on some superstars, if you make the match mean something, it makes you more invested in the product overall, and I like that. Some other things, even though Cedric doesn't really big fan of Enzo and Cass, I'm a huge fan of them. I really like Mr. Luke Skywalker, Mike Talker. I don't know exactly what he says there off the top of my head, but man, Enzo can talk, and we've been missing a guy that can have those kind of mic skills every single night on Monday or Thursday. I think he's going to get over real quick. As a tag team, yeah, they're kind of hit or miss. Some people might really enjoy them, other people might not. To me, I'm actually a bigger fan of Big Cass in the ring because he's that monster, 7 foot tall, really fast, really athletic guy. I'd like to see him way down the road. I'm talking probably like 2 or 3 years at the least, maybe split off and do his own thing and have Enzo just be his manager or something. But for the time being, I like him as a tag team. Throw back to the Midnight Express with a rocket launcher. I love that. The fact that they're so big, so small, you can do a lot of stuff. Whereas, he picks them up and scoop slams them onto another opponent, or throwing them at him and throwing them out of the ring for an elbow in the corner. I love their dynamics. And man, they can talk. Freaking calling Devon. Thought that was hilarious. You're so ugly, tears roll down the back of your head to avoid your face. Like Enzo put a microphone in his hands, and that's money on TV. I love it. As far as the dynamics with AJ Styles going forward, y'all already said it. Man, he's a very athletic, very over guy. No matter what he does, I think people are going to love him. Going forward as the number one contender, I really hope that they use this match as a way to turn Roman Reigns heel. You guys have already said it before. The crowd is just not buying it. You know, they can have him spear Stephanie McMahon. They can have him do all this other stuff, but the crowd is just not taking it. So I really hope they use Roman Reigns beating AJ Styles. Yes, I said beat AJ Styles. Everyone gasp, cry, oh no, I can't beat AJ Styles. But I'm going to have Roman Reigns beat AJ Styles, and that'll cement his heel turn. Because how can you beat AJ Styles for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship and expect people to cheer for you? Like, use that. And then, I like the fact that they've introduced the Bullet Club. I do find it odd that WWE has not been shy about using the term Bullet Club. I mean, on TV they haven't used it yet, but on online interviews, Edge and Christian show, they're saying Bullet Club and not Balor Club. So I'm curious where they go forward. I really don't even want to make a guess as to what they're going to do because I'm just excited to watch it right now. But I think overall the format is changing. I like it. I said it says got to be a little skeptical because even when the days of CM Punk, we saw some changes being made and then they just rolled right back into the boring stuff. So I'm excited to see what happens. One thing no one has mentioned yet is the Wyatt family. Are they turning face, or are they doing that Randy Orton tweener thing?
Well, it doesn't really matter now because Bray Wyatt just hurt his calf really bad, so may not make a difference. But I think they were trying to start some kind of heel turn, or a face turn.
Yeah, so I mean that's a shame. Obviously they can't keep him off TV. They're gonna keep doing some kind of vignettes. Because, again, put a microphone in that man's hand, and he's gold, too. But just to see the pop he got after that hot tag, and he just laid everybody out, and I don't think I've ever seen so many people cheer for a Sister Abigail like that. And I'm excited to see where they go from there once he returns to health.
Yeah.
But overall, like, I'm happy. I can't wait to see next Monday night. Raw is turning into must-watch TV again. And I hope they don't change it too soon.
Well, my thoughts are this. I really hope that WWE just is blowing their proverbial wad here too early. I hope that it's not one of those things to where they're trying to come out the gate super hot and then they lose track of everything down the road. I do want to make one thing clear for the internet wrestling community. As I see all these posts about, do you want Shane McMahon to keep running Raw? Vince McMahon is still running Raw, everybody. They just decided to change the format in which they're actually running the show. So, just a little reminder, not to burst everyone's bubble, but at the end of the day, old man Vince has made this change. And this may go back to what we talked about in previous episodes, where sometimes Vince McMahon is just ahead of his time. I think he might have already seen what was coming and he had planned it, but he's like, I'm going to finish out what I'm doing now. We'll start fresh after Mania. And then maybe he has been listening to you this whole time. It just had to wait a little while because he didn't want to disrupt what was going on in his previous storylines. Alright. But going back to Raw, enjoyed the last 2 weeks a lot. You guys have covered pretty much all the high points that I could talk about. The only things that I really wanted to add in was that the Jericho Zayn match and then the week before the Fatal 4-Way were two of the better main events I had seen in months on Monday Night Raw. In fact, in a lot of ways, the last 2 weeks worth of main events were better than the main event of WrestleMania. So,
agreed.
With that being said, I think that it's no slight to Triple H, and I thought he did a good job during that match. But as far as Enzo and Cass are concerned, I love their personality, and I love the work they do outside of the ring. Inside the ring, I think they're a little bit formulaic to me. It's kind of the same match every time we watch it. Enzo's going to sell the damage, he's going to get beat up, he's going to hot tag Cass, and, they're either going to win or lose after that. So I don't mind the guys. I think they're okay. I'm excited to see Baron Corbin. I think his moveset is unique. He's an athletic guy. He just kind of is a black hole of charisma. But so he'll have to deal with that. In fact, he might be a super massive black hole we'll just have to see what he can do, because I know he really doesn't care if people like him legitimately, and I think that in order to be a bad guy, sometimes you just have to be a bad guy. I kind of like the fact he's coming up. Apollo Crews, I think, can be a really good athletic guy. I just hope he doesn't get too stale and kind of over the top babyface that he is now. But otherwise, I agree with all your opinions. Kind of strange with the Shane McMahon deal. Like the openings, like the change in the segments. It's been nice not seeing the Authority at all the last few shows. So, any other takeaways before we move on to the next subject?
Yeah, I got one more thing I want to say. I completely forgot about Apollo Crews. One thing about him on the main roster is that he is super athletic. The guy can go in the ring, but almost kind of like Baron Corbin, he's kind of unproven as far as charisma. Sure, when he's in the ring, he can explode, and he has all this cool hype and presence about him, but I don't really see him as a main event guy just yet. I think they should keep him in the lower mid card, feed him a bunch of guys, and let him build up, and hopefully he gets that mouth kind of going, if that makes sense. I don't know. I kind of just started drawing, but I hope he has some charisma hiding underneath that athletic ability.
Some charisma, huh? All right.
That charisma, man. I tell you what.
Little charisma. Sure don't sound like you're from Alaska. Anyway. All right.
I ain't from Alaska. I just live in Alaska.
Yeah, you just live here. You got to represent, though. I saw you taking pictures of moose and stuff. But anyway, so. All right. So, talked about some NXT talent. That leads us perfectly to transition into our next subject, which is NXT in general. Do we still consider it a development league, or do we consider its own brand of wrestling in today's industry? How is it affecting the indies? How is it affecting the WWE in general? Huckster, let's just go in reverse order. Huckster, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, back in the late 90s, we had the Monday Night Wars. Now with NXT, as popular as it is, we got ourselves some internet wars going on between ROH, New Japan, the rest of the indies out there, and NXT. And with NXT pulling in all these new guys, I think they're really stealing a lot of thunder from a lot of other companies out there like ROH, like PWG, really stealing some of these guys and giving them that platform that they probably didn't get on such a worldwide scale before. I mean, sure, ROH is a very big company, not on the scale of WWE, but they are a big company. But I think NXT is killing it as a brand. I still think it is a developmental brand, yes. But what they've been putting on TV is very high quality. And majority of the guys wrestling there have been wrestling for, 5, 6, 10 years plus. So by no means are any of these guys rookies. But what they're given at the Performance Center really does call it or that's what really defines it as a developmental brand. They have all these tools at their disposal, and then NXT is just their platform to showcase what they've learned. Now they do house shows and road shows all over Florida, and they're starting to branch out from Florida and go elsewhere too. So what we see on TV isn't just what NXT is. So I definitely say it's its own brand. But what we see behind the stage, what we see that's not on TV is still NXT. And that's why I can still consider it a developmental brand.
Okay, what effect do you think it's kind of had on the mainstream product then, the actual big show, WWE?
Well, for starters, instead of back in the day where we had OVW or just Florida Championship Wrestling, now most of the world already knows some of these guys that are being brought up to the main roster. They have a feel for them, so they already kind of made up in their mind, I already like this guy, I don't like this guy. So it's helping in a sense, but at the same time, you don't really have those surprise moments anymore from a debuting guy on the main roster. I mean, sure, they have like one or two guys coming in like, oh, holy cow, like AJ, even though I think we all knew AJ was going to be at the Rumble. But Doc Gallows and, Anderson, seeing them show up the way they did, I almost kind of forgot about them. I knew, back in January they had talked about leaving NJPW for WWE, but I kind of forgot about them since it had been so long. So I like the way that they brought him directly to the main roster. I just don't think we'll see a lot of that because of NXT.
I was just really confused because I couldn't understand why Festus was on my TV.
Biscuits and gravy!
Anyways, all right. Overall, positive or negative, though, for you in NXT's influence?
Very positive for me, and I don't know why Will said it's almost like get enough wrestling. Me, I can't get enough of it, man. So give me more.
You all don't realize how much of his time he does spend
more.
watching wrestling. I'd say many nights in Korea did we spend watching wrestling. So
We did. That's true.
All right, Cedric, why don't you hop in on this the subject? What do you think as far as NXT in general as a brand?
I would not just hop in. I will fly over and.
Ooh.
Ooh. When it comes to NXT, all I have to say when comparing the two brands, or not even comparing the two brands, just the main roster and NXT, it's just WrestleMania weekend. A lot of folks praised much more the NXT Dallas takeover than they did the actual WrestleMania itself. And we're talking about the amount of money that was put into WrestleMania versus NXT when it comes to the entrances, when it comes to the pyrotechnics, when it comes to everything that was NXT outside of the ring, but everything else, the quality and whatnot. I prefer, if I gotta compare both shows, to me TakeOver was even much better of a show. I've read a lot of folks online badmouth NXT, calling them development or just rookies or these nobodies. If you're not watching the show, you can't really give a truthful opinion on it. When you have so many names that have been main players in other companies coming into NXT, it's kind of become its own brand more than just a developmental type center, because unless you have names, maybe a Tyler Breeze, who I'm not sure if he had anything going on outside of, like in the indie circuit. If you have names that literally their first opportunities were here in NXT, most of these guys, like how Stanley said, they've been wrestling for years all around the world. Whether they had a different name, a different persona, a different gimmick, it's more than just developing a wrestler. For a lot of them, it's just kind of like tweaking them down to the WWE style. You don't want them doing all the flippy stuff, maybe, or you don't want them to be too strong style, or you want them to be more towards what WWE is advertising, or what their style is. So I think they've gone past from just being development to actually becoming their own brand to a certain degree. How it affects the indies, it's like how Stanley's saying, and I'm not gonna say a lot of folks, because few folks actually been posting this on different sites, and it's true. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Obviously, like we've had guests before on our show that have said that they're happy to see some of their partners in the indies actually get called in to the WWE via NXT. We've had folks say that should be the dream of every indie person, just like anybody in the AAA or anyone in any sport that's not playing for the professional league. That's probably what everybody would like. And as a wrestler, I would assume being part of the indie, that's what you would like, to be part of WWE. So I kind of hate the fact that it might hurt a different company, especially when you're taking main players. It will hurt that company. But if it kind of brings other people up to speed, maybe. I don't know. But I like NXT. It's a really good product. The wrestling is amazing. I'm a big fan of the wrestling, and I think that's the one thing that I like about them a lot. The crowd can sometimes get a little bit annoying, but that small local feel that they have reminds me of the indies. And that's why, even though every now and then I might not agree with the crowds, but for the most part they do a better job. I think some of the crowds in the Raw or SmackDown try to hijack even more of the show than NXT. NXT, they kind of, boo the heel and go crazy for the face, so which sometimes not the case with the main roster shows. But all in all, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good, and as long as they keep bringing big names like Shinsuke Nakamura, a Finn Balor, which was Prince Devitt, Austin Aries, Samoa Joe, or even the soon to make his debut, I'm pretty sure it's going to happen, Bobby Roode, maybe even an EY. That's definitely becoming his own brand, because those guys are not development wrestlers at all. They're more than seasoned veterans.
Okay. Well, I know you said you don't watch much NXT, so then I guess from your view as more watching the WWE product, what do you feel about NXT in general?
Well, when you heard, was it a couple weeks ago when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were going at it? Kevin Owens brought up that, yes, Sami Zayn got signed to NXT sooner, but he made Raw a lot faster than Sami Zayn did, despite how long Sami Zayn had been there. I think that proved that NXT is being viewed as a developmental product for Raw. Otherwise I wouldn't let them say that.
Absolutely.
And I'm a TNA fan, so you just listed all their main event talent from 2 years ago, and now in NXT. So I think NXT is just there to pick apart like ROH, TNA, make sure there's no number two. I think that's what they're trying to go. That was when they started NXT, that was the main goal, was to get rid of everybody else.
Huh.
And that's what Vince McMahon has been doing since he became the lead guy in WWE. Like, he bought up every territory. Now he's trying to do it again. Make sure there's no competition. Make NXT the number two to WWE, if he can do it.
I've seen that's an interesting thought, because it's probably not that far off in the United States, at least. As far as the way people view the show, people definitely have a high opinion of NXT versus some of the other shows.
Yep.
Okay, so how do you think it's affecting TNA? Do you think them almost pseudo poaching talent? Do you think that's sinking TNA, or do you think it's just been the way that they've managed talent?
Talking about TNA or NXT now?
No, how is it affecting TNA? How is NXT affecting them by getting most of the talent?
It's hard to keep guys because they get a little bit more money when they go to NXT. Although TNA does still offer a pretty light workload. They work just like they'll work like 4 or 5 days in a row, record a whole bunch of TV, and then not have shows for a little while. So that's why guys like Jeff Hardy will stick around, because they can work not as often.
Yeah. Well, I know I would say James Storm was offered not a very big contract at all, to be honest, for NXT, which is why he ended up going back to TNA. So I don't know if it's necessarily that they're paying those guys a ton of money in NXT, but I think a lot of it just seems to be they're trying to collect pieces, like you said. I do agree with you there.
Yeah, and I couldn't think, when I watched that Finn Balor Samoa Joe match, if that was in NXT, it would have been a much better match. They wouldn't have stopped it.
Oh, you mean if it was in TNA?
If it was in the other company too, ROH wouldn't have stopped it. Japan. Only WWE stops that match, and all of us wanted to see that match go with Samoa Joe pushing the medic away.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably got fined for it, but whatever.
Well,
he did.
I think I spoke to this, but I think the original stopping of the match was appropriate, because they needed to check Joe and make sure he didn't have like a broken orbital or something like that. But I think once they determined nothing was broken,
and that was done when Finn Balor was on the outside of the ring. Then they broke him up and checked it again. So I thought that was just stop the bleeding. And it ruined the match, and the fans let him know, but
I will agree that
anywhere else.
Everything that happened in the main event, that portion did bother me as well. We're on the subject of what ended up happening during TakeOver. Ryan, what are your thoughts on NXT as far as being developmental, being its own brand, or do you have any other opinions on anything anybody said thus far?
Yeah, I got to agree heavy with what Cedric said. Just look at the talent they have. Samoa Joe, Austin Aries, Fergal Devitt, who's now Finn Balor, obviously. Sami Zayn, who's El Generico on the independent circuit. Kevin Owens, who is Dean. These aren't guys who need development. These are guys who were developed in most of them in their 30s. I'd be remiss to leave out Pac, who is now Adrian Neville. I mean, it's not development. I don't know what can you further develop out of some of the best talent in the world. I mean, yeah, you have your guys like Angelo Dawkins, American Alpha. I mean, they are developing, but no, like I believe they're their own brand, and they're just it's a way to take out TNA and ROH.
Now, would you agree that it might not be developing talent from the ability to work perspective, but instead of developing talent into a WWE entertainment wrestling style, as opposed to what New Japan would do, or what they do in the Indies, or even what they do in Ring of Honor? Different style of wrestling completely. So, would you say that maybe it's developing them for that?
I would, but then the only argument is they brought AJ Styles right to the main roster. They're bringing Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows right to the main roster. I mean, you lose your sense of it right there. I mean, I would agree with it if it wasn't for that.
Well, one thing with Gallows, and I think because he's already had experience with the company,
right.
I don't necessarily think he may need that. But I can definitely see your point with with AJ Styles. It could just be their depleted void of tag teams, just out of necessity. They're just trying to get them in as fast as possible. But I guess, how do you think it's affecting the indies outside of TNA? Do you think it's good or bad for the independent circuit? And do you think it's good or bad for the WWE's product?
It's good and bad in the sense obviously it's bad in the sense that it's taking a lot of draw away from going to shows such as ROH. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with CZW also. Yep. That's another promotion around this area that they've taken some talent from. That Dean Ambrose cut his teeth there for a while.
More than just the teeth, but yes.
Oh yeah, way more than just the teeth. And I think it's a good thing in the sense it gives other guys an opportunity to develop out in the indies. Guys that would never get a chance. If you're taking out the top guys constantly, it's just you're going to have to fill that void no matter what.
Okay. As far as what it does to the main roster on WWE's product, do you think it's good or bad?
I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great, the influx of talent that comes in to NXT. I mean, it's securing the future, without a doubt, because you got to face it. John Cena, he's showing all the signs of heading out. He's starting to act. He's the nagging injuries, catching up with them. I mean, you do have guys like Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins to carry you through, Cesaro, Kevin Owens, but you still need more. I mean, I think we could all agree that, let's say over the past 5 to 6 years, there's been a lack of depth of big names in the WWE roster, and I think this is their opportunity to have more depth as far as superstars.
Yeah, and a lot of that's talent development. They haven't seemed to want to work on that, and that's the problem with sometimes WWE is a very nostalgic company, and they really rely on a fan's nostalgia to really get them by. But at the end of the day, they haven't built as much new talent as they probably should have. All right. Well, for me, at the end of the day, I think they're still developing a little bit like what I talked about. I think they're kind of developing a different style. They take those guys that they think need a little bit more polishing on the entertainment side, and they're really bringing them in their own. Like, the only reason Nakamura is in NXT is because of the language barrier. I really believe that. I think his English is okay, but I don't feel like they think it's good enough to be up on the main roster. I mean, we see Sin Cara and even Kalisto, when they try to talk, they still struggle. And they were down in NXT for a while. The other thing, it's going to be developmental, and I think it's in some ways had a negative effect on the main roster, or at least fans on their feeling toward other wrestlers on the main roster, because we see a guy come up from NXT, and because the fans watch him on Wednesdays, they instantly want this guy like in the Intercontinental title picture, or the upper mid-card, or, somewhere like that. And there's an exception to every rule. I think Kevin Owens has done a great job beating Cena his first night, got him noticed and all that. But like when Tyler Breeze came up, I didn't really bother me that he was losing a lot of matches. To a lot of people, it bothered them because they had watched him and got invested week in and week out. And that's the problem, is because we have this developmental that people can watch every week on TV, it's really difficult for you to sort of have a good grasp on enhancement talent because you don't want this guy being brought up to lose. So just kind of sometimes can make it a bit a negative for the WWE's product. For the indie guys, I think it's great. This Cruiserweight tournament that's going to go on this summer is going to be fantastic, I think. And most things else they're doing there from a performance standpoint, from a wrestling standpoint, is great, for sure. Anybody got anything else before we move on to the last portion of our show?
Yeah, the last thing I want to say as far as NXT talent coming up and then not being treated the same way, you mentioned Tyler Breeze. I'm going to go one more and say the Ascension. In NXT, those guys were super dominant. Mm-hmm. And granted, a lot of their matches were squash matches. They didn't wrestle a lot of other big tag teams while they were in NXT. They mostly just hit jobbers and local indie guys that weren't signed to NXT. But yeah, bring them up to the main card and they're instantly those guys who just make fun of. And I mean, Enzo did a great job this last Thursday. You know, the worst thing I could say about the Ascension was that they're the Ascension. How you doing? So, like, it has hurt some talent like that. But I think, you know, that's going to come and go with a lot of guys. We've said it before on the show. The main roster needs jobbers, and they probably need more jobbers than anything else. They just have to decide who's going to be the jobber and who's going to be the main guy and stop with the 50-50 booking on that.
Yeah, like I said, Barry Horowitz made a career of losing matches. Brooklyn Brawler made a career of losing matches. And those guys are still endeared in a lot of fans' hearts. Gilbert, for crying out loud. Like, we remember these guys, even though, you know, they obviously were never going to win anything. But we remember them because of just, we saw their face every week, and we kind of felt bad for them because they were getting killed. But, you know, it was still good to see them, and we still remember them. So, all right. Cedric, you got anything?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, the whole Tyler Breeze thing, you know, that's not really as much for us of NXT or bringing anything negative from NXT, you know, or hurting the main product. Is more, I think, some fans not understanding, like how Stanley says it, like you say, you know, not understanding that, you know, there's a place for everyone. And does it look bad? So, like you said, and I'm gonna explain in my own words. Does it look bad to see the Ascension being as dominant as they were in NXT, just to become a laughable team on WWE? Yeah, it does look bad. You know, and like you said, you know, maybe I don't think too many people would follow SCW or Ohio Valley Wrestling as much as now they follow NXT because of the program or the app. Obviously, some of us did. Regardless, we found a way to watch it. Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's a whole different topic, you know, how to have a person losing 0-49 or 0-50 or whatever it is now. But the guy's happy. He understands his place. That's the important thing, that the wrestler understands it. And the whole Kevin Owens making his comment, you know, he plays a really well heel. So what better heel comment to say than to remind Sami Zayn, hey, you know, I got called up here first. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like you said, does it kind of make wrestlers coming through there just so that they can develop into more WWE styles? Yeah, maybe. Some of them do. Like Ryan said, you know, AJ Styles was the exception, but I think his star power was definitely needed in a main roster that has so many stars hurt. But at the same time, I think the internet would have exploded if they would have seen AJ Styles in NXT and then trying to hear JBL and others explain why he was there because he's a rookie. And that's my biggest problem. If you describe NXT as developing them, hey, you know, you're coming from different styles, we want you to develop what WWE style is, that's one thing. But you got people talking about NXT like this is a whole bunch of rookies. And they don't even deserve to be in the main roster. And I'm like, what are you talking about? If you don't follow anything outside of WWE, it's kind of hard to take you seriously with those kind of comments. If you're only a fan of one specific wrestler in WWE, but then you want to give a class or a lesson on wrestling, then it's a little bit difficult. And I find a lot of that definitely on wrestling sites when they want to discuss NXT. So that's just my 2 cents.
Well, that was passionate and heartfelt. That is what you do.
As always.
All right. Well, we're going to transition and doing something new. We haven't done this before, and that is we've all agreed upon a match to watch, and we are going to break it down, kind of give our thoughts about it. Interestingly enough, it involves talent that are both now in the WWE or NXT, WWE. And they were both wrestling in Japan in January for Wrestle Kingdom 10 in a great match. So what we're going to do is look at Nakamura versus AJ Styles from that event and sort of give our thoughts and opinions on the match, and then just kind of BS about it for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and you just at least, and just see what we think. So I guess as our guest, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and start out, give us your thoughts and opinions on the match, what you thought about it in general, some key spots that really stood out to you, maybe some things you didn't like.
Well, let me say this. I can't name some things I didn't like. That was a 5-star classic, in my opinion. I mean, you look at the talent right off the bat, and you expect big things, and really when you're expecting this, when you have that high of expectations, the only thing that could happen is they could let you down. I wasn't let down at all. Just so many high points in this match. I would say a very emotion-filled match. They kind of knew it was going to be one of AJ's last big matches over there at this point, I think. Well, maybe back then it didn't, but looking back now, you realize it was his last big match in NJPW. A high point for me was at about 20 minutes in when the 450 splash AJ hit on Nakamura. He kicked it. I thought he had him. Right there, and I thought it would have been an odd finish. But no, there was a good use of kickouts in that match. So yeah, an exciting match, and I would love to see it maybe at SummerSlam even this year in WWE.
Yeah, obviously. It would look completely different because they're not going to work the same kind of style they did in this match, but definitely can see that. So 5 stars for you. That's awesome. Cedric, do you have anything to add? Anything that you saw in particular about this match?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Ryan for actually giving us the suggestion to actually look at this match. He was the one who suggested it on Twitter via message, and I let you guys know. And great pick, definitely great pick. It shows that these two gentlemen belong where they're at. It shows that these are two veterans, not regardless of where they're at, WWE or NXT. These are two veterans. From the build-up, even though it was in Japanese, the link was in Japanese. The build-up of it was amazing, just to see. And we've talked about this before, the importance of building up a match, not just throughout the weeks, but actually before the match itself. If you build it, if you let them talk almost kind of like MMA style, where you have them discussing what they're gonna do, what their thoughts are, whatever. It was pretty good build-up. The actual entrances were amazing. I think New Japan has some of the best entrances without going to Flair style. And the match itself, woo! I'm a big fan of strong style. I have to be honest, and if Sami Zayn was in front of me, I would congratulate him for the amazing match they had with Nakamura. The style that they had in that NXT match was similar to what we saw on this AJ Styles versus Nakamura, and you can almost see a little bit of it with AJ Styles now in the WWE ring. So yeah, I guess fans are starting to complain about it, but anyway, regardless, staying in topic, I just love the Styles clash to get out of an armbar.
Mm-hmm.
I think AJ Styles' version of Bombaye, or whatever they call it now here in NXT, which they had to obviously change the name of it, was amazing. And definitely the charisma and the style, his unique style that Nakamura has, is just incredible. I became a fan of his from my first match that I saw between him and Okada, between him and Kazuchika Okada and Hitachi, and all different Japanese names that I've seen in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
You're talking about Tanahashi?
Tanahashi, thank you. I almost mentioned names that would have probably gotten me in trouble with our Japanese listeners if we have some. But
you say a curse word or something.
Yeah, it would have been a curse word, something completely racial, something. It was like a few, but anyway, he's just a great wrestler, and I can't wait till he comes to the main roster and shows off his talents, because he's just an amazing wrestler. And this match, even the ending, it's just, you can tell the difference between the Bombay in Japan versus what he's doing now in NXT. Is just crazy. It almost hurts to watch, but it was just an amazing match. There's no other way. Instant classic. Anything that has Nakamura under the New Japan Pro Wrestling banner is just an instant classic. So.
Okay. Will, your thoughts?
Is that a words?
Speechless. That's his rating. Speechless.
5-star.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for me, I mean, it's just amazing to say that both these guys, WrestleMania weekend, were big name matches. Nakamura versus Sami Zayn and AJ Styles versus Y2J, WrestleMania weekend. Fast forward barely 4 months, 3.5, 4 months ago, these guys were probably the best match of Wrestle Kingdom 10. And to say that both these guys just in a 4-month time wrestled at both events is amazing enough as it is. But
before you get
for this match,
before you get any further in the match, we're fast forwarding back 3 months. So did we go back to the future just now?
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Anyways, continue.
Because you have to fly to Japan. You see what I'm saying? You can't drive from here to Japan.
It is like time traveling. I get it. That's cool. I like it.
Because technically it's tomorrow in Japan right now.
Yeah,
so
I'll put you over. Go ahead. Why not?
All right. But I have to throw a confession out there to Ryan and to Cedric, and I'm real sorry to say this, but I really didn't watch a lot of NJPW up until WrestleMania or Wrestle Kingdom 10, and I was aware of it. And I'd seen a couple, like clips of matches here and there, but as far as the actual event, this is the WrestleMania. I keep saying WrestleMania. Japan's WrestleMania, Wrestle Kingdom. This is the first full NJPW event that I had watched, like from start to finish, and wow, like just the whole environment is so different. I love that long entrance ramp. AJ Styles' entrance with the mask over his face. It's just crazy. I mean, I know the guy was great. I know the guy's popular. I've seen him everywhere else, TNA, ROH, indies on the internet. But seeing him in New Japan, man, the guy is a rock star. And that strong style they do is just insane. Watching the match between Sami Zayn, you see some of those hard hits, but that doesn't do justice to what these two guys put on. Like, for a second there, I thought they were legit killing the shit out of each other. Like, holy cow. And the fact that it went on for as long as it did really gives credit to how good their cardio is and how devoted they are to this product. The Styles Clash was awesome coming out of the armbar, the armbar. And, man, Nakamura's running knee, I mean, it's kind of similar to Daniel Bryan's, but so different at the same time. I mean, it's the same move, kind of, just without the jump. But the flair he uses on it is just so cool to see him do. It's just, here it comes, boom! And it's just crazy. I'm so happy that Nakamura is now in the WWE, bringing that Michael Jackson type character to WWE. It's something very different, and just the style itself is something different. I hope they don't wean him too much off of it, because it is super entertaining to watch. And one thing I miss with AJ Styles in WWE happening, the first time I actually noticed it was during the Wrestle Kingdom match, but going back and watching a few of other matches, there's always that one female Japanese girl in the audience going, AJ! Yeah, I love that. But man, like, this match was excellent. I'm going to give it a 5-star match as well, just because there really wasn't anything I could really draw back on it. I mean, sure, if there was a couple botches, the kind of match that they had, it makes sense because it was just a drag out fight with some awesome technical wrestling, some great chain wrestling, and that's what I'm the biggest fan of, is the chain wrestling and technical, like the amateur style being brought in. And I guess that makes sense with Nakamura's background in MMA in addition to wrestling. So, I mean, I loved every minute of it.
Cool.
Hey, Hug Standing, I'm glad that you mentioned Daniel Bryan, because if I'm not mistaken, so fans don't quote me on this, but I think Daniel Bryan does credit Nakamura for the running knee that he does.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
Or he did.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that.
He's not wrestling anymore. And if I'm not mistaken, he does consider him one of his top mentors.
It's easy to see why.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I also know Daniel Bryan trains some MMA too, so I think they kind of take both those styles, they're able to mesh them and translate it. So both use a similar style in that way, I guess. All right, Will, you there? I am unsure.
He's still speechless.
He might. I mean, that's double 5 stars. All right. Well, I will give you my opinion of this match. So, I would like independent companies that I've seen, Ring of Honor, WWE, to take notice of a match like this. We both know that AJ Styles can fly around very quickly, can get up very quickly from spot to spot, area to area. The pace of this match was really slow in the beginning, and I really liked it. They were super methodical. Every move meant something in the beginning. They had the legitimate time to feel each other out in the beginning. You had a little bit of showboating going on, back and forth. You had Styles playing possum. And then, as the match built, the pace quickened. And so then it was like, went from, like the tortoise to the hare toward the end of the match. All of a sudden, we're starting to see the big high-flying spots and all that. But the selling on both sides was amazing. And honestly, I don't know how much you had to sell. I mean, I saw the one knee where it hit AJ. I mean, it hit him square in the shoulder. You saw the impact, and, the impact alone probably legit knocked him down. Those forearms are brutal that they're throwing. So, to me, I don't even know how much they had to sell except after the fact. One thing I also really appreciated about this match was I thought that there were a couple botches throughout the match. Like, there was one point where Nakamura hits a backbreaker on Styles, but the camera is at Nakamura's back. And I said, he missed that backbreaker. He didn't really get it up very good. And then they showed a different camera angle, and Nakamura did hit him with the backbreaker, and then it was almost like out of exhaustion, his legs gave out, and then they're both laying there. And I said, wow, that was really amazing. It was like just a modified version of the move that he had to pull off because he was tired. And it's rare that a match can pull emotion from you. When it can, it's a good match. And it definitely had my attention the whole time. I invested in it. They told their story from beginning to end in this match. I really, really enjoyed it. I will say this. As much as I did enjoy Sami Zayn and Nakamura's match, I've heard a lot of people talk about how they would have rated that match higher than this one. I think they're nuts. I think that was a good, solid match. This is probably in the top 50 matches I've ever watched. So, definitely was worth the watch. This is about the 4th or 5th time I've seen it. So, and each time I watched it, I can feel, the emotion from these guys. So, awesome match. Anyone got anything else to say about this match?
Will? Still speechless.
He might have fell back asleep, legit.
He joined back. There he is. Will.
Oh, hey. Are you there? Oh, we can't hear him.
He's still speechless.
Said he's gonna
good. It's a little symbol to the message.
He may have his microphone muted.
It's such a great match.
He pulled a Hercules.
But like you guys said, man, even the botches were good because AJ Styles tried to do his famous off the corner backflip into a DDT. Nakamura was nowhere near, so he just he does the flip, looks back, like you're not even in the way, so he turns around and just forearms him in the face, like next time you better be there. So even that was pretty cool.
Still speechless.
He's like, words cannot describe how I feel right now. Show some optimism, man.
No,
some positivity.
We know he liked it because he hasn't had anything to say. And it's a rare day, when an individual doesn't have, anything to say. He said, we're actually a short show tonight, so freestyle, you guys got anything you want to talk about the last, 5-10 minutes? Otherwise, we'll let Ryan, where we're going to be able to hear him, how people can follow him, those type of things, and then we'll go ahead and...
Well, what you got for us, Ryan? Anything else you want to talk about?
Not much really. Just appreciate you guys having me on. I really do appreciate it. I look forward to having all of you guys on. You're all welcome. Sure. Anytime at all. We'll have you on every week if you want. I definitely like that.
We're a little long-winded for most shows, so.
Now this was a great experience. This is actually my first time since our show hasn't got to go live yet. This was my first podcast ever. So
your podcast cherry's broken.
Yes, it is. I've lost my podcast virginity, so that's a very good thing. I love the show, guys. Keep up the great work.
Well, before we end anything, let everybody know they can find you again, because I, get the sneaking suspicion people might fast forward past it the first time, and if they do, shame on you. Also, shame. But also, just a good idea. We'll leave that fresh in their minds before we end the show.
All right. Once again, you can find us on Twitter at the L2R Show. My personal Twitter account is Ryan from Mayfair. You'll be able to find that at the L2R Show's Twitter page. And my co-host is at LuckyRock009. His name's Larry. If you need to email us, if you have any questions about the show, if you're interested in sponsorships, guests, not expecting any sponsors anytime soon, if at all, but had to put that out there. You can email us at larry2ryanshow@gmail.com.
Awesome. Okay, well, I want to thank the panel. I want to thank Optimistic Will's Skype account for being so impressed that it wouldn't even allow him to speak anymore. But I do want to thank him for being on the show. It's the third time he's been able to join us. It's always great whenever we can work the timing out. And I appreciate him getting up at 5 a.m. his time to be on here. Like always, Cedric, Hercules, great to have you guys on the show. And then Ryan, of course, you guys are welcome back any time as well. In fact, now that you've got to go solo, we got to get your compadre on here by himself too, just to keep you guys even, sometime.
Yeah, we will set that up. I'm going to be giving him a call right after this.
Awesome. Sounds good. And like I said, you guys need anything from a startup perspective for podcasts, you let us know. We have we have a guy that runs a Twitter page. We've got the guy that runs a Facebook page. I do all the editing. So, cool. Sounds great. We appreciate everyone, and if there's no other thoughts, then Jobber's Court is adjourned. Thank you very much.
I actually got one more thing if it's not too late.
You blew it. Go ahead.
All right. Well, since we did pop your cherry, I got one question to ask for you, Ryan. Since L2R is headquartered there in Philly, what is your favorite live show you've ever been to? Any promotion and why?
If you would have asked me this 3 weeks ago, I would have had to say, the easy one for me is Royal Rumble 2015. Just the experience of getting to boo Roman Reigns out of that building and start him on the track of negativity that he's been on for the past nearly 2 years. It was a great experience. But I actually got to attend WrestleMania 32. I did the whole weekend down in Dallas, and just that whole week, with the exception of Access, which for any of your listeners or you guys that plan on ever doing the WrestleMania trip, I recommend skipping Access unless you're doing a VIP experience. You do not get your money's worth for the $55 they charge for the general admission. But between the actual the Hall of Fame, I would say, was one of my favorite things I've ever done. That was an incredible experience. You get a great ambiance, just a lot of sentimental feel to it.
One thing for you guys, some food for thought, since we rejoined the podcast and you didn't let me end it, so now I'm going to take some time. So, if Roman Reigns is getting booed every night out the building, is he already a heel? Maybe. Something to think about. Roman Reigns, just keep doing what you're doing. You're the best heel in the company.
But please,
Extra John Cena.
come up,
Believe that.
come up with a new thing. Because saying show after show, hey, I'm not a good guy. I'm not a bad guy. I'm the guy. I don't even want that on my t-shirt.
All right. So I just want to point out here real quick. We talked before about how he stole the long hair, the coming from the crowd, and the spear from Edge.
Yes,
But now he's taking Seth Rollins' thing and saying, I'm the man. Come on, Gail.
What was that? Also, for the record, I want to say that Cedric's impression of Roman Reigns is still better than any impression I've ever heard. I've ever heard how to. Except for
You cut me
Mickey.
deep there. You
Except
can
for
cut me
Mickey.
deep.
Your
Except
Mickey's good.
Mickey.
You can keep it. You keep Mickey. That's a good one.
Vicky.
Yeah. Cut me, Mick.
Cut me deep. Cut me real deep.
Cut me real deep. Yeah. Did it on purpose. But, alright, well, that was just some last minute things that were bothering me. I honestly think it would be really funny if Roman Reigns just continued to, try to be a face and then the whole time they're pushing him as a heel. I think that would be a great way to just be a heel. But, anyway.
Oh, come on, guys.
Come on, guys. Really?
Oh, that's exactly what I was thinking. Come on, guys.
You don't need to boo me. You could cheer me. That's what you're supposed to do.
I'll give everybody free tater tots.
I love the tater tots thing, man. Everybody hated it. I loved it. Well, all right. Well, before we digress too much further, anything else?
Well,
that's not fair. We love you, Will. And again, thanks everybody for being on the show. I think we're going to be able to end the show this time. Jobber's Court is adjourned, and thank you.
is he up?
I just saw his little thing light up, which means he's talking.
I was about to say the funniest thing
It's
is he's
working.
come on now.
What happened to you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I had my earbuds in the whole time I was talking earlier. Dude, it was kind of funny because when you addressed me that last thing, when you couldn't hear me, I said I don't have much to add, and then you immediately said, I guess we'll just skip you. I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought you heard me.
That's great.
My God, dude, this is.
I'm putting a blooper reel since we got extra time. This will go on it.
You should,
Oh.
That's all right.
especially after Jarvis Chris to join. Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Anyway,